Hello and welcome to AAU TV on Diaspora-Connect. We had an interesting conversation with Dr. Daniel Wubah, the president of Millersville University, on collaboration with African universities. They say an interesting conversation is the one that never ends. So obviously, the conversation with Millersville University will never end, and we will seek to probe further on some of the interventions that are really helping education in Africa. So, Dr. Wubah, welcome again to our interaction on AAU TV.
Thank you very much, Snyder.
All right. Since this is a continuation of our earlier interaction, there wouldn't be any need for introduction. We will go in straight to our topic for today, and we are looking at connecting undergraduate students from the US and Ghana through US National Science Foundation undergraduate research grants. Doc, please tell us the rationale and what goes into this particular research fund.
Okay, thank you once again for inviting me to this program. And I'm always thrilled to talk about the National Science Foundation undergraduate. We call it the Research Experiences for Undergraduate Sites program. And just to give you a background of how the program developed in Ghana, how I set it up, as a faculty member, I had a lab with about 10 students every semester, and I worked with just my students. But then during the summers, there were students who needed additional research experience. So when I became department head at Towson, I started looking for opportunities to create a culture of research for the entire department. And that is when we went to the National Science Foundation to look for resources to support an undergraduate research program across the department. That is the REU site. The purpose of REU site is you write a competitive proposal, you are then reviewed, normally NSF gets about, 100 proposals for each discipline. They review it and they can award maybe up to 10, awards every summer. So I ended up, fortunately enough, being able to get one of those grants for my department and the department head in biology. I did that for 3 years. So that was what I would call the domestic NSF REU program. So I did that for 3 years. And then when I became an associate dean, I didn't give up my research. So during the summers, I spent time in the lab with students doing research under the National Science Foundation program. But I realized that I was being interrupted. At times I'll be in the office working on something and then I'll be interrupted to go back to the lab to work with students. So I started thinking about how can I develop a program where I can build on my own experiences and opportunities that I have to enrich the students' experiences in research. And that's when the light went on, the light bulb went on. And I said, you know what? I grew up in Ghana. I have connections in Ghana. What if I can take students to Ghana to do research? And I know that there's so much that students can learn in Ghana. Okay? But if I can do that, then it means I will be away from my office. So there's a kind of a selfish element in there. Yeah. But I can get to spend time with students in Ghana focusing on research. That is when I approached the National Science Foundation to ask if I can replicate the programs that I had been doing here, but at an international site in Ghana. And I found out that they had already been doing it in Europe, that's in France, in the UK, that's American students going to do this kind of research there, and even in some Asian countries, but not in Africa. So it had never been taking place in Africa. And so when I reached out to some of my friends, actually one of my former collaborators at the University of Cape Coast, that what if I can bring American students to Cape Coast for 8 weeks in the summer to do research? And the major goals of the project were as follows: to provide the students a first-hand international research experience in a developing country. Secondly, I wanted to improve their lifelong skills, such as critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, and also reasoning and interpersonal skills in terms of their cultural awareness. Thirdly, I wanted also to emphasize the importance of global collaboration and cooperation to address problems. And finally, I wanted to immerse the American students in the Ghanaian society during their stay, so that they would have a better understanding and appreciation of sub-Saharan culture. These were my 4 main goals for the program. And it's so far, I would say, if you ask me about one of the crowning achievements of my career, this program has been one of those, because we've been able to put 108 students through that program, and I know where each and every student is at the moment.
Okay, so let's track this. If I understand, this is a collaboration where you bring students from the United States to do their research in Africa, yes?
Yes.
So in that arrangement, if we're talking about ownership, or let me say the outcomes of this research, does it have an impact on Africa, or it is something that the student, let's say the students come here, the research is of relevance to the United States or is of relevance to Africa? How does that research bit go? Like, how does it work? Is it a research on problems in Africa, or a research from the United States that benefits the United States?
The best way to explain the program is that students apply. The point, we advertise the program here, students applying to the program, and then we match them with faculty mentors in Ghana. The students start discussing the potential projects they will work on with their faculty mentors in Ghana. So the projects that we finally work on comes as a result of mutual discussion between the faculty member and the students. And invariably, these are projects that are based in Ghana, in the African country. So then the benefits would also be for the continent. That's for the faculty member there. Now, let me give you an example. I can give you a list of some of these projects, but one of them was identification of different taxa of butterflies. During the first time that I brought students to Ghana to do this project, the faculty member, who is an entomologist, had been working on finding new butterflies that are involved in pollination of some cash crops at Cape Coast. Okay? But for a long time, he hadn't been as successful as he wanted to work on this project. So working with this American student, they came up with a new protocol for basically trapping the butterflies and then doing the identification. Can you believe that over the 8-week period, they were able to identify 5 new butterflies that no one had ever seen before? And they were at the Kakum forest. Okay? In this case, the benefit is not only for the Ghanaians, but it's also for science as a whole. So the American student benefited from learning how to, basically work in the African context, but also came up with knowledge in entomology that didn't pre-exist, when this program started. So ultimately, as a scientist, the work that you do shouldn't benefit, one country or the other, but it should benefit all the participants, ultimately, the whole field of science. So that is just an example of, the projects that the students were doing. And as I said, we ran it for 15 years. So we've done projects, spanning from, coastal ecology, fisheries, taxonomy, environmental biology, conservation biology, and entomology.
Okay. So if because you're talking about like you mentioned a lot of coastal issues, especially the entomology, is it coastal entomology? So do you have, is it a collaboration with specific departments, or this is a collaboration with the university in general?
Well, the REU program was based in the Faculty of Science at the University of Cape Coast. So the collaboration was specifically with 3 departments: okay? Department of Wildlife, Department of Aquaculture, and the Department of Chemistry. Those were the 3 departments that the students were placed. And each student had a faculty mentor, and they had a defined project that they work on over the summer. Now, this is an opportunity to actually give you the details of how the program ran.
Okay.
Students were admitted here to the host institution. As I said earlier, I've been at 5 universities. So depending on the university at which I was, students when admitted will come to the host institution.
Okay.
We spent the first 3 days basically preparing them to come to Ghana. Okay. So, my wife will cook Ghanaian food for them to get a taste of that. We watch, videos about previous years' experiences or about Ghanaian culture.
Okay.
And then we travel together to Ghana. When we get to University of Cape Coast, we use the first 2 days as orientation. That's on-site. We do the, pre-travel orientation at my home institution here. Then we do the on-site orientation at University of Cape Coast. After that occurs, the student will start, their project. Let me give you a typical week. What happens? From Monday through Friday, students focus on their research work. That meaning working in the lab or out there in the field collecting data. Okay. But on Wednesdays in the afternoons, we have a 2-hour block where the students actually take part in the seminar presented by faculty members in the sciences from University of Cape Coast. So they get to see the diversity, the variations in terms of different projects going on at the University of Cape Coast in the science, in the Faculty of Science. Then on Fridays in the mornings, we have a seminar, 2-hour seminar on what we call Ghanaian culture. So we have faculty members who come to talk about the importance of festivals. Okay, they talk about, the importance of music in Ghanaian culture. It's not only for entertainment, it can use to communicate. So, they get that in-depth experience of science in Africa, in addition to, the Ghanaian culture. And this is then wrapped around the scientific experiments that they do.
Okay.
At the end of the program, they actually make a presentation to the entire campus. It's open to the entire university campus to, come and listen to the project that they work on, okay, and ask them questions about it. One of the outcomes, I know, this will probably be coming up soon, is students who take part in this project, because it is fully funded by the National Science Foundation, they get everything covered. Okay. Round-trip airfare, meals, accommodation, research supplies, and I give them a stipend.
Okay.
So everything is covered for them. And at the end of the program, they have to submit to me a report in the form of a manuscript that can be published in peer-reviewed journals. And I'm very glad to say that we've published more than 50 peer-reviewed articles through this program.
Oh, good. All right. So that is quite interesting. And I think you mentioned a portion because I was interested in knowing, and of course my viewers will be interested in knowing what actually the fund covers, which you did well to mention some of them, because one obvious challenge I was looking at is research infrastructure. That is one of the challenges we have in our universities in Africa. So if you are bringing students to conduct research in an entirely new environment where infrastructure is key, how do you mitigate such challenges? Actually, you can also add some of the challenges that you've encountered so far in this program and how you are mitigating them.
Okay. I think one of the beauty of this program was like that for most of the students who participated in it, they had already done some research in the US where there's a plethora of equipment in the labs, state-of-the-art equipment. But when coming, I often tell them that they are going to use the most sophisticated equipment, which is their brain, because they are not going to get all these sophisticated equipment we have here. And I'll give you an example of a situation in which, a student coming to Ghana at that time, he had the impression that most people in Ghana didn't know much about AIDS. This is, long, so he said, his goal was to understand, how well known, people were aware of, AIDS in terms of its distribution and prevalence. So he designed this project with the intention of looking for information centers and then interviewing, Ghanaians within a certain radius, several concentric radii, and then use that to determine their knowledge. We got to Ghana, okay, and he thought that if he walks on the street and asks someone, tell me about AIDS, they wouldn't know about it. In his pre-survey, he came back that evening after doing the survey and he said, Dr. Wubah, I think my project is not going to work because I was going to do quantitative analysis. Ask people questions and then just check, this person doesn't know, this person knows it. Okay. But after talking to people, everybody knew about AIDS in Ghana, actually in Cape Coast. So he said, do I have to go back to the States without a project? I said, no. We met with the faculty mentor and we switched the focus from quantitative analysis of information on AIDS to qualitative analysis. So we developed an entirely new instrument that he used for his survey. Okay. Now, this is an example of the benefit that being in Ghana provided. He wouldn't have gotten that benefit here. With regards to specifically instrumentation, as part of the program, we normally, almost every other year, bring some small equipment that we could carry with us. We couldn't ship large equipment, but for example, some of the equipment we use in the lab, some scales as well as, and that's Geiger counters. We bring all of those things to Ghana, okay, with us when we come to Ghana. So, and we leave this equipment, instruments at the, at the University of Cape Coast. We never brought them back to the States. Okay. They benefit, the departments benefited from that. Another way by which we actually helped, that this program has actually helped some that departments at the University of Cape Coast. As a result of this program, we actually brought a faculty member when I was at James Madison who spent a year doing postdoctoral work in our chemistry department. When going back, he took several equipments with him back to Ghana. Okay. So that is one of the benefits, it's unintended benefits of the program.
Okay. All right. So this is perfect, and I think the collaboration exposes your students in the United States, likewise the students who are here, that they get the opportunity to interact with, and then those they get the opportunity to work on researches with. Going forward, I know the scope of this project has been defined, especially with the choice of universities to collaborate with. So over here, we've mentioned the University of Cape Coast. Is there a place for the project, for expansion to other universities? And also, we've talked about, I think, the fact that you bring students here. Is there a way that in the project is structured that when the students come here, they have research partners in, let's say, Ghana? So before they even come to Ghana, they are already working on something with a partner student in Ghana, so that when they come, it's like a continuation of what they started, so that the experience is not for only the students in the United States, but also for students in University of Cape Coast or a partner university.
Well, actually, there are two ways that we've used to address this particular question. Because of the application cycle, for students to take part in the summer program, most of the students apply in the fall here. We admit them in early spring. So then from February through May, before they come, that's when the students actually reach out to the faculty mentors in Ghana. Okay. That their initial interactions are often with the faculty mentor. But in every instance that we've had students at the University of Cape Coast, the faculty members already have students in their labs who are also doing research. So they always give them partners. There are times when they have multiple partners when they get to the University of Cape Coast. And so that has been well established within the program. Okay. So that is one way by which students, that the Ghanaian students can also benefit. They end up developing relationships with the American students. And I know there have been instances where, as a result of working with the American students, they've been able to follow up past the program to come to do graduate studies in this country. Okay, that's one. The second effort that I have in mind, but it hasn't really materialized, is to get USAID funds that can be used to support Ghanaian students while they are there. At the moment, one of the biggest benefits, I think, apart from the intellectual development that takes place and the research findings is, I do pay the faculty members, when I did the program, they were paid over the summer. They actually received stipends for mentoring the students. And some of the Ghanaian students also got stipends, through their faculty mentors there, to cover their costs during the summer. So there's a win-win, situation here.
All right. Thank you very much, Doc. Let's take a breather here and then get a glass of water, and then we will continue our discussion. Welcome back. This is AAU TV and this is Diaspora-Connect. On today's show, we are talking about the U.S. National Science Foundation undergraduate research grants that is being spearheaded by Dr. Wubah, Dr. Wubah, Daniel A. Wubah, who is the president of Millersville University in the United States. Doc, before we left off, we had talked intensively on the program and what it seeks to do and some of the achievements so far. Now, let's continue our discussion. Over here, I'm looking at the sustainability of this particular project. This is a funded program, and mostly this is supposed to have a lifespan, yes? If so, how do you intend to sustain this program beyond the funding period?
Well, actually, the program ran from 2002 to 2016. As we speak now, I'm no more running the program. But the National Science Foundation Research Experiences for Undergraduates program is still available to anyone who wants to apply to set up that program. And I'm working with our faculty members in the biology department here to write, one of the proposals so that we can reactivate it at Millersville University. Okay. So that is one way by which, it can continue. But I know that several REU programs now are occurring across the continent. In 2002, when I started it, it was the first one in sub-Saharan Africa. There was no REU program there at that time. At least in Ghana, I've heard about 2 other faculty members here who are now running programs through the NSF REU Sites program. So it can definitely be sustained if you have faculty members, with an interest in making it happen.
All right. Thank you very much, Doc. I think this has been an interesting discussion. We will go to your final words, but then before we go there, this whole funding for this research grant it's like a one-way where students come from the West to universities in Africa, specifically Ghana. Is there a space for the opposite movement of students also from Ghana to the United States so that they get the same experiences, the same exposure as the original project?
Yes, I would say at the moment, when this program started, by the 3rd year, we started thinking about ways by which we can provide opportunities for the Ghanaian students to come to the US. And talking to the National Science Foundation, it was very clear that we couldn't use the US funds from the NSF to support the foreign students. But USAID has a bunch of programs that will support foreign students to come to this country. So we started working on that kind of partnership. I know that currently the program exists that when you get an NSF REU site international program, such as the one I described, you can use it as a leverage to apply to the USAID to provide funding for the Ghanaian students to come to the US to do research projects. Okay. But it all depends on a number of factors. The program should be structured in such a way that you have faculty members in the US who would be able to host the students. So that depends on institutional partnerships. That is how you can develop this kind of program. Okay. But before we wrap up, let me also mention the impact is not only on students. but faculty members also benefited. I mentioned the stipends that the faculty members back in Ghana received, but also in addition to that, I was able to bring Ghanaian faculty members to my host institutions here. Dr. Opoku Boama at University of Cape Coast came to James Madison for a whole year through this program. Secondly, I brought Professor Yankson at that time to be a keynote speaker at a conference on pedagogy. And it was all built on this kind of, the REU side program made it possible for that to happen. So the benefit actually goes beyond just students, American students getting experiences in Ghana.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Wubah. So in your wrap-up, what advice would you also give to other faculty members in the diaspora? Because if you look at what you've done as an individual for the continent, especially your contribution to education in Ghana, what advice would you give to your colleagues?
Thank you very much, Snyder, for that question. I think, I'm not special in any way. It just comes from an interest and a commitment to make a difference. And I would suggest that's Africans in the diaspora, especially in higher education, to look for opportunities to partner with our colleagues who are on the African continent. And in this case, they should look at it as a situation in which it will be mutually beneficial, not only to the Africans, but also to wherever they may be, because the richness of not only our culture, but also the environment in Africa, okay, and the systems in Africa is such that the only way we can let others know is to take people to Africa, to learn about Africa in Africa. Okay. I think that is the driving force. No matter where you are, if you have an origin from Africa, you can go back and expose others to it. And that is the driving force, giving back.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Wubah. So I don't know if you have any final words before we leave. That would be much appreciated, especially, let me say, in relation to the summary of everything that we've discussed today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nkrumah. It's always a pleasure for me to get a chance to interact with up-and-coming leaders like yourself, in Africa, specifically in Ghana. And I currently believe that the future of this planet runs through Africa. And it's up to us to really position ourselves, train the next generation of the citizenry and the labor force that would enhance the lives of everyone on this planet. Okay. And it comes through Africa. Anyone who has an interest can definitely find a way to collaborate with Africans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The interesting line that I take from our discussion is the future of the world runs through Africa. And indeed, Africa is the hope for the world because of our immense human resource, which makes us the beacon of hope. Thank you very much for being with us. I was your host for today's session, Schneider Kweku Amkuma.